Well, I guess, we move very quickly because we started this, announced it on June 30th, and it closed on July 8th. So in 27 calendar days.
In this episode, we speak with Tom Lee, CEO of Bitmine, about the rapid growth of his ETH treasury company and his goal of securing 5% of the total ETH supply. Tom believes Ethereum could surpass Bitcoin in value, forecasting potential prices between $4,000 and $15,000. We discuss market dynamics, the risks of excessive leverage, and his perspectives on the valuation of Ethereum and NFTs like Pudgy Penguins. Tune in for key insights into the future of Ethereum and Wall Street's role in crypto.
Bankless Nation, we have Tom Lee here, legendary Wall Street investor, chairman of the newly launched ETH treasury company, Bitmine. The ticker is BMNR. Tom, welcome back to Bankless.
Yeah, thanks. Good to see you guys again.
It's great to see you. It's been about a year, and you've been pretty busy. I got to say, I did not have on my bingo card that Tom Lee in 2025 would create an ETH treasury company, and yet here you are at the time of recording. Bitmine, where you chair, has 833,000 ETH. That's closing in on 1% of all ETH supply. And you are now, I believe, the largest ETH treasury company in the world, at least publicly traded company. How does that feel?
Well, I guess, we move very quickly because we started this, announced it on June 30th, and it closed on July 8th. So in 27 calendar days since the close, we've moved at very high velocity to acquire this ETH quickly. But I think it's important because MicroStrategy really has demonstrated that his 30 times return, his pivot when MicroStrategy was $13 in August 2020 to now, Bitcoin made a big step move from 11,000 to 120,000, but his treasury strategy delivered another 20x on top of that. That's how he got a 30x total return. And I think Ethereum is one of the biggest macro trades over the next decade. So we want to move quickly because we want to get as much ETH at, 3,500 or whatever, before it makes its step function gain, similar to what Bitcoin's done in the last 5 years.
Unlike MicroStrategy, Tom, when you launched Bitmine and just announced that you were doing the ETH treasury company strategy, other ETH treasury companies were hot on your heels. Coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally, SBET from Joe Lubin Consensus, Sharplink Gaming was announced within like 5 days of you announcing yours. And now there's a whole host of ETH treasury companies. Did you know that there were others that were hot on your heels? How did all of this happen all at once? Why did this all happen seemingly in the same 2-week period?
Maybe great minds think alike. I don't know. You're right. There have been, for a long time, there were just Bitcoin treasuries. And then a couple of Solana treasuries, and a couple of hype ones. But Sharplink was the first Ethereum treasury. That was announced in May. So we're behind, we came after Sharplink. But I think that, Ethereum itself makes a lot of sense to do as a treasury play because one, if you're positive on ETH itself, then that's the reason to do a treasury strategy, especially over an ETF, because the functions of a treasury strategy let you stack more ETH. But the second is ETH, I think, actually, that because of staking and the proof of stake, that these treasury companies are essentially infrastructure companies, and in exchange you're getting paid, a yield for native staking, and that makes them into real businesses. Like for instance, the over $3 billion worth of ETH that we hold today, you would earn native staking over 3%. And that's essentially GAAP net income. But the third reason, of course, is that, it's important to create scarcity. I think that the story that we have at Bitmine is one of scarcity because we have a very clear strategy of trying to acquire 5% of ETH, and we have a pristine balance sheet. I think that's a big advantage. And the stock is super liquid. It trades $1.6 billion a day, which makes it the 42nd most liquid stock in the U.S. stock market today. Actually, Uber, we trade about the same as Uber every day. And I'm just going to check Uber's market cap, but I think, Bitmine's, about 4 billion, and Uber's market cap is 184 billion. So we trade as much as Uber despite a 4 billion market cap versus 183 billion.
Tom, let's talk about that 5% number, because I've heard you say that before. And we're just like adding up some numbers here. 5% of total ETH supply. So that'd be about 6 million or so ETH.
Yes.
You're at 833,000 now, but have gotten to that number in like 4 weeks. So you're moving very, very fast there. Are you serious about 5% of all ETH? Because from my recollection, MicroStrategy, they've been at this for a while, since 2020. I believe MicroStrategy is up to like 3% of Bitcoin or so. And they've been dollar cost averaging in over time. 5% of all Ether, I guess at the current market price, it's what, 20 billion or so. But I assume you can't get there overnight, especially at these prices. How in the world do you get to 5%? And are you serious about that number? Or is 5% kind of a placeholder? It's just kind of like, yeah, we'd like to someday 5%. That sounds good. Or are you serious about it? And do you have an execution plan to get to that 5%? And if so, what does that look like?
Well, MicroStrategy is 3.2% of the network circulating supply right now. And, but, MicroStrategy wants to get to at least 1 million Bitcoin, which is about 5%. And keep in mind that once MicroStrategy has 1 million Bitcoin, they have a sovereign put. They are strategically important to the Bitcoin ecosystem. I mean, if the US wants to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, it's probably difficult for the US to buy 1 million Bitcoin in the open market, because as soon as they announce it, sellers are going to shrink, and Bitcoin could go to $1 million right away. So MicroStrategy might be an easier way for someone to get to 1 million Bitcoin. So I call that a sovereign put. MicroStrategy's achieved the 3% in 5 years. So they were buying basically 16 cents worth of Bitcoin a day, every day for the last 5 years. Bitmine if you look at it from inception to now, has added about 80 cents to $1 per day in Ethereum. So it's about 12 times faster than MicroStrategy. So we would be on a path to get to 5%, presumably like at 12 times the speed of MicroStrategy. But it makes sense because, we would be a benevolent entity in the sense that we are doing everything 100% compliant with what is the idea of a legally compliant. Ethereum is a legally compliant blockchain, and everything that Bitmine is doing is keeping every single piece of the operations in the United States. So it is very compliant to what Wall Street and the US government would want to see in someone who's staking a lot of ETH. And equally important, ETH itself is going to be really where so much of Wall Street financializes on the blockchain. So eventually, I think someone on Twitter made the point that staking ETH for Wall Street is like gamers buying NVIDIA, that you would have done better to buy NVIDIA as well as be a gamer or be a gaming company. But because of really how blockchains work, it is actually that exact idea that Wall Street is, if they're going to be tokenizing real world assets from money markets to dollars to stocks, that they're going to want to own ETH itself, but then they want whoever's staking it to actually be an entity that is really trying to further the goals of Ethereum. So I think we really serve an important purpose by staking ETH,